Host of the Bradley Report that's being presented to you by none other than United in Peace, Inc., a non-violent organization, anti-violence organization. The issues that was put together today is by none other than the chairman of United in Peace, Inc., and that is Terry Marsh Bradley. I'm just the president of United in Peace, Inc., and I'm so blessed that she's my wife. As you know, this is what I want to say on behalf of myself, my wife, and my family. We send our condolences to Charlie Kirk family and friends. No one should have the right to be killed because he expresses his opinions. We all have a right to an opinion. We all have a right not to agree with one another. Well, we don't have a right to kill one another because we don't agree. What this show is about is where everyone's time to come together to stop political violence. And showing the power of those that believe in prayer and walking by faith in God to help stop the president or to make the president to reconsider sending the National Guard or troops into Chicago. When we as a people come together for righteousness, God, in my opinion and belief, give us favor. And I'm hoping that you, my viewing audience and listening audience, form your own opinion off of what you see. But I ask that after you form your opinion, whether you agree or not, that you please agree to the fact that there's no place for violence, political violence, because you disagree with what one another has to say. Sometimes, in my opinion and belief, that those of us that know that God knows all things, good and bad. But when people come together for what's right, it works. When you saw the piece where we were putting our hands towards the federal building while Pastor Jeanette Wilson, I think Ackrey, and another pastor went inside the building to take the letter up to the Attorney General's office, U.S. Attorney General's office. Couldn't touch the building, because if you put your hand on the building, then they say you're destroying federal property. But you can pray. That's what we did. And because of that, Sister Amani, play the next piece.
Today, that federal troops will be deployed to a different city.
We're going to Memphis. I'm just announcing that now, and we'll straighten that out.
National Guard?
National Guard and anybody else we need. And by the way, we'll bring in the military, too, if we need it.
President Trump said both the state's Republican governor and Memphis's Democratic mayor were happy about these developments. But the mayor had something different to say this afternoon.
I want to be clear, I did not ask for the National Guard, and I don't think it's the way to drive down crime. My commitment is to make sure that we work strategically to ensure that this happens in a way that truly benefits and strengthens our community.
According to last year's FBI crime data, Memphis was ranked #1 for the most incidents of violent crime per 100,000 residents. And for more, let's bring in CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro. Aaron, thanks for joining us here. President Trump has been threatening to send federal troops into Chicago for several weeks now. So why is he shifting focus to Memphis here?
Yeah, Nancy, in that Fox News interview this morning, President Trump did say he still prefers to go to Chicago at some point with the National Guard and federal troops. But a couple of things that he has suggested might be part of the reason why he's turning his focus now to Memphis. He mentioned that there is that ongoing legal case that's currently in appeals court when it comes to the National Guard that were sent to Los Angeles. President Trump sounded confident that they will win that case eventually in court, but said that he is closely watching it. Another reason, he mentioned that Governor Pritzker of Illinois does not want the National Guard in Chicago. In the last couple of weeks, President Trump has said that he wants to go to places where the local officials, the politicians there, the leaders want them to help curb the crime. So while we could see the National Guard in Chicago at some point, as the president still believes that that is a place that they should go to, at this moment, the attention is now on Memphis, where we have learned that Tennessee's governor, Bill Lee, has been talking to the administration for months now on a plan to help them curb crime. As you heard the mayor there of Memphis say, he does not want the National Guard there, but he also told reporters that he knows that it is not in his power to stop the National Guard from coming, and said that he will work collaboratively to make sure that once the National Guard are there, that they have the community's best interests in mind. But what we see in Memphis could also apply to St. Louis. That's another city that President Trump mentioned this morning, as well as New Orleans, where Louisiana Governor Landry has also welcomed National Guard to come in to help curb crime. So yes, Memphis, potentially we could see some details next week as they're being ironed out, but some other cities are also on the docket.
We'll check in with you then. Aaron Navarro, thanks so much for joining us.
You know, I'm glad that the mayor of Memphis said what he said, because the rules are we all got to work together. So we're going to get to the next phase, because I want to make sure I get this in about Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, and the Charlie Kirk situation. Because it's important for everyone to know that we, as African Americans, that had nothing to do with the murder of Charlie Kirk. And it's out there as out there that there may be inner turmoil between various MAGA factions. And as you know, with a lot of the shootings that's been happening, even the attempt on the president's life and the attempt on this life and all that, it comes out that it wasn't an attack by the left against the right with violence. All of the individuals that were the suspects were MAGA or Republicans. Let's go to the next piece.
Definitely will happen. You know, I hate to say it, you were one of the first people that I thought about after I saw what happened with Charlie Kirk, because, you know, I don't want that to happen to anybody. I don't think anybody should be killed because of their opinion or attacked because of their opinion. And, you know, what happens over there definitely will happen, you know, on this side.
Yeah.
And that definitely makes somebody like you a target.
Yeah, I
Did
mean, there were so many people that immediately reached out from all over and was like, what is going on with your security? Like, we need to make sure that you're good. Like, are you somewhere safe? And I had to make sure that I called my mom, because I knew that my mom would just want to hear my voice. It really shouldn't be that way. And we now are engaging in conversations again about the safety or lack thereof for elected officials that are in Congress. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have to pay for my own security. So I have to raise money to keep myself safe because they will not pay to take care of us, even though the other two branches of government, they pay for their protection. Mm-hmm. So, hopefully we can engage in some real conversations around what it looks like to get us some real safety. But also we need to engage in what really does cross the line, right? So we do have free speech in this country, but are you free to say just any and everything, right? There are limits to all of our constitutional protections, as well as what kind of standard are we going to hold ourselves to when you are sitting, say, in the Oval Office or, in the House? How far will you go? Right now, everybody's gotten so sensitive. I woke up and a friend sent me a text message where somebody else had been fired for repeating Charlie Kirk's words, right? They're firing people and they're canceling people because people have gone out and looked at some of the things that he said. I'm gonna be honest. I never said a word about Charlie Kirk. He wasn't on my radar. I don't go and follow the right wing special people. I don't. It's just not, I got other things to do. And some of my friends who had never heard of him were let's dig, let's figure who is he, right? Because people are this is coming up on our feed and we don't know what's going on. We don't know who it is. And literally, I didn't know he had ever talked about me. And I guess it was recently, but I had never seen it. I had never paid attention to it. Whatever, you know what I mean? And that's kind of where we got to get to. But I think ever talking about who should die, ever saying who should be beat up, ever saying who doesn't deserve to live, taking people and throwing them in cages to the extent that they're literally dying. I mean, we've had more in custody deaths as it relates to ICE. We're on record to hit a record for that. And so, are we going to have these real conversations? On that same day, we had kids that were shot again
in Colorado
at another school. Right. And there's been no conversation around those kids. And the thing is, what did they do wrong? Nothing. They showed up to school. That's what happened with them, right? And so, we've got to talk about the culture of guns in this country and what it looks like to truly understand what the Second Amendment stands for. And it doesn't mean that everybody got to be the Wild Wild West. And now, can we have a conversation about everybody having guns doesn't necessarily prevent gun violence?
What she's saying is correct. With the truth and the facts. And I thank God for putting the cover of protection around the black universities. That there hasn't been anyone, or African American or whomever, that come into a black university and shoot it up. That's not us. But I want to close out with this next piece. Let's hit this one with the governor.
Republican Party Chair Aaron Del Mar as his running mate. In a statement, the campaign said, quote, "Two strong conservative leaders are coming together to unite Republicans across Illinois." Currently, there are 3 other Republicans who have announced that they will be running next year: DuPage County Sheriff James Mendrick, businessman Joseph Severino, and Ted Dabrowski, who's president of the conservative research group Wirepoint. Democrat J.B. Pritzker is running for a 3rd term as governor.
It's the one where J.B. Pritzker is explaining how we all got to come together, Republicans, Democrats, to help stop the proliferation and pushing the rhetoric as if it's okay to push violence because you don't agree with someone else. That's it. See, we got that one right there.
Well, good morning, everyone. I just got done with a roundtable from City of Chicago colleges, administrators, faculty, and undocumented students. It was an enlightening conversation. City Colleges is really a great example of an institution that's providing effective systems of support for immigrant students, especially as they're being targeted by the federal government in this turbulent time. One thing that we discussed is the genuine fear that our people and our communities are living with right now. I feel that, especially over the last several weeks, in talking to folks all across Chicagoland, they are living in fear in their homes. From Berwyn to Austin to Englewood to Little Village. People are frightened about the potential of military troops coming to our neighborhoods. People are fearful of masked men in unmarked vans who could grab them on a street corner because of how they look or how they sound. People are scared to go to work. They're scared to take their kids to school. They're scared to go to school themselves or to go shopping. Last week, as you all know, the assassination of Charlie Kirk added to that fear, both about gun violence and about being killed for speaking your mind. This is a moment when Americans must come together and say clearly that threats and political violence are not the answer. Because, well, we are now living in a moment when there's an alarming trend in this country. It's been going on for the last several years. The attempted assassination of President Trump, arson at Governor Josh Shapiro's home, the murders of folks at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, bomb threats against the Texas House Democrats when they were here in the Chicago area, plots to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer, bomb threats at both political parties' headquarters, the assassinations of Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, and the shootings of State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Political violence has increased substantially against both Republicans and Democrats. Democracy is designed precisely to avoid political violence, and it's now incumbent upon leaders of all stripes to work together to stop it. Most especially, this should come from the top. Yet with each new crisis in recent years, we are reminded that we cannot rely on President Trump to tamp down the anger and the passion in the aftermath of political violence. Instead, he actively fans the flames of division, as he did on Friday, regularly advocates violence for political retribution, and in more than one case declares we are at war, not with a foreign adversary, but with each other. I don't believe any of that. Our people are not at war with one another. In these moments, real leaders offer words of solace and calm. Except for one, every president in my lifetime has done this in the wake of political violence. They take action for positive change. They bring people together. They make Americans feel safe. They let them know violence is never the answer. This is a watershed moment in our country. We can choose to stay silent and live in fear of more political violence, or we can choose to be loud for peace, for compassion, and for an America where people settle their political differences through free speech and at the ballot box. Let's be those people. That's the path Illinois chooses, and I implore the President to do the same. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions from members of the media. Yes?
For weeks now, Chicago has been preparing for this massive influx.
Things understood need not be explained. You've heard it. You know what's right. And we all know what's wrong is for anybody. Like our president. Blaming people that had nothing to do with the murder of Charlie Kirk. And he got to stop pushing it because, like the governor said, I ain't got to repeat it. Y'all know it. It's that old saying, you can't point a finger at someone without 3 fingers and a thumb pointing back at you. So without further ado, I'm saying stay prayerful. Give God his praise and glory. Walk by faith in God. And to God be the glory. That's Reverend Dr. Wallace Gator Bradley's story.